probably put these in, get one there too. They're pretty simple design. In the closed position, you would push them into the ground and then open them up, and then just drop your tree down, pull it out, and kind of step around to get it in.
These are, we call these plugs. They grow them in jiffy pots.
So yeah, these ones don't get stuck. If you had some bare roots, depends on how heavy they are. If they're very light, they could get stuck. I've planted ones like this, but that were twice as long, and they're still totally fine as long as they've got enough weight. When they dry right out, sometimes they get stuck, but if you water them, then usually they're totally fine.
In terms of picking a good spot for planting, so I mean, we just came through here, cut a lot of the fir and stuff out, so then we created a little bit of a gap in through here, and that's where I say, like, your goals around what you're going to do with the fir. So if you look kind of in behind everyone there, that's an entire patch of fir, and if you happen to have a tray of seeds like we do now, maybe you're going to want to go in and cut them all down, and then stick a few seedlings in the ground. So if this is probably a more realistic tool that everyone's going to have, and generally what you're going to do for planting, you kind of just stick it in the ground. You might have to step it in a little bit. So this is actually a good example of that one. I can't push that down anymore, so I'm on a bit of a rock. You want to make sure you get good mineral soil, because if there's enough there that I can get this planted, but then the roots are going to have to go out and around the rock to get in. So try and you're not doing this on a production basis. Somebody that's a tree planter might just stick it in. You got to kind of just keep going, but generally you're going to stick it in. I always do it a little bit rocky here. There we go. In on a bit of an angle, and I say you can kind of pull back, and you can see you create a little bit of a void there. Put the tree down in the ground. You always want to try and get your plug so it's just barely in under the soil there, and then we always step them in. And then a good test after you've done it, just 2 fingers kind of around the base of the tree. Give it you don't want to rip at it, it is a tiny little seedling, but put a little bit of pressure there, and you don't want to feel it come out or like it's going to pop out of the ground or anything. So like it needs to be maybe, one thing with these types of spades is they do make a little bit wider holes, so you might have to step it a little bit more and stuff to get it in the ground, but so there you go.
Situation like this, how many would you plant?
Yeah, that's one thing I knew I was going to forget. So generally what we always say, like if you're planting in an old clear cut or something like that, 2.1 meters, or feet's easy, so about 7 feet roughly is what you want to get in between them. So I'm going to put one in a hole here. I might drop one over there, depending on if there's other regen stuff around, and just kind of throwing them in a setting like this is a little bit different, because you're not really planting for any type of density or anything like that. So if you get them a little closer, 3-4 feet or something like that, I wouldn't plant. I mean, it's on your own woodlot. You can plant maybe 2 feet if you want to. If you want to spend the money, but it might be a bit of a waste. So, I generally say like that 6 or 7 foot rule is a good one. Lets them come up, and then once they do get up a little bit taller, then we might have to thin them out a little bit. So, Family Forest Network project is doing this type of work, like kind of an understory thinning and then understory planting is actually something that we're looking at, because. And this is kind of going to be part of the 2 billion trees. It's a little bit of part of the new ecological forestry stuff. Like they have some shelter wood with underplanting and everything, but nobody knows any type of real metrics on it. So if you're planting in a clear cut, you're going to want to see survival of ideally over 90% on your seedlings. In an understory, we just haven't done it and looked at it enough, so we don't really know. I would definitely say lower for sure. And that's why maybe it's not bad to plant them a little bit tighter if you, especially if you have a spot that you want to make sure you get some, if that's your most desired species, plant them a little bit tighter. So this one's depending on who you are, you might want gloves and stuff. I love the little hoary for this type of stuff, especially because it has, if you look on the front of it, that's my 1 inch mark right there. It actually has a little ruler. So for one of these, I would say you just go a little bit deeper, kind of the same thing. You just work a little bit of a hole there. So I've got it. One thing you want to make sure of when you're planting an acorn, like I said, you want to get it to about 1 inch under the ground, and you don't want to go and jam your hoary way down in under there and make a big hole, because then you'll have a void, and what happens with that void is when it rains, it fills up with water, and then you'll actually drown your seed. So you want to make sure you get it pushed down in about 1 inch, and it should be down into mineral soil. So realistically with acorns, like I made a nice little hole there, but if I came up right here, I can usually just push them right down in the ground. Give it a look. And it's planted just like that. Oh, if we want to, so I see, yeah, so I got the little knife. If we want to, everyone want to grab, you know, a few trees, we'll just kind of try and space ourselves out. We can go further down the trail, just look for some little holes in what I would say is a good way to judge it is if we're getting a little bit of sunlight on the ground, that's probably a good spot to stick a tree or two. We can kind of work through here and down the trail and stick some acorns in and stuff too. And then after we've done that, we'll go up, grab a drink, a snack if you want to, and we'll go across the meadow there and into a nicer hardwood stand, and we'll talk a little bit about actually doing some pruning and stuff over there. So.
Okay, now let's see if it'll work.
I usually just go to where the pedal
Yeah,
there.
well, and that's what I was doing, but when I tried to
Open it.
okay, open it before you drop it through, well, that makes sense.
Now it'll stay open.
Now it'll stay open. Yeah,
There we
no,
go.
it did. Okay. Now.